Hello everyone and welcome back to our Family Matters channel, where we discuss real issues and challenges that are affecting families, and we offer suggestions and solutions to lessen adverse effects. Before I go into today's topic, however, please do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. So today we will be delving into a topic that affects many families, and especially those that are looking for greener pastures and have left their families behind. Our topic today is long distance relationship and how it affects families. We will look at the effect on spouses, such as the emotional strain, the communication dynamics, the intimacy challenges and other effects. We will also examine closely the emotional impact it has on children, changes in the family dynamics and their communicational needs, among others. We will seek to give strategies for coping and how to bridge the emotional gaps. Today we have 4 panelists. The panelists are here to help me to delve into this very important issue. We have Peter Wonsa, who is an engineer and have been married for over 18 years with 2 teenage children. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Thank you. We have Tarina Davis, who is an educator and has been married for over 13 years with 2 daughters. Welcome, Tarina.
Thank you.
We have Asaro Judith, who is a lawyer and who has first-hand experience of being away from her family. Welcome, Judith.
Thank you very much for hosting.
Our final panelist is Dr. Solomon Saranjoji, who is a university lecturer and has been married for over 14 years with 4 children. Welcome, Solomon.
It's a pleasure.
Now let me begin with Judith. Can you define what is long-distance relationship?
Thank you very much for the question, Sabrina. So a long-distance relationship is an intimate relationship between partners who are geographically separated. So geographically separated could be one city, to the other, or one country to the other, or one village to the other. So as long as you're geographically separated. Now the time factor would come in is 2 weeks. Long distance relationship is 3 months. Long distance relationship. Now the other panelists can discuss that, but that's the definition, is as long as there's a geographical separation that amounts to a long distance relationship.
Thank you so very much. So we'll definitely continue with that discussion.
Sure.
So Peter, what are some reasons why spouses migrate from each other?
Well, there are various reasons, Sabrina, why people would opt to be in a long distance relationship. For example, some might be for economic reasons,
Okay.
right? Where one of the partners has to travel, let's say, to another city or to another country for a job. Other reasons could be for health reasons, right? Where, for example, one of the partners does not take well to the weather in a certain geographical location and they need to leave, whereas the other partner is unable to do that because they have children who are actually in school. Other factors are work-related. For example, if you're working in the military, you might be called on an assignment to go, and these could vary in terms of duration, so that also becomes a long-distance relationship. So these are some of the reasons why people would be in a long-distance relationship. Okay.
Yes, you have something to say, Solomon.
Well, while he was, opening the tape, I remembered something that, if you have a parent, you're working in one place, but then you need to take care of aging parents, for example. One of you has to travel. Actually, this has happened many times where we actually travel. One of the spouses has to travel and take care, of someone who needs palliative care. By palliative, I mean, if they're suffering, your parents are suffering from a terminal illness, which is not going to go away. Some of them take years. So that means that they're compelled to surrender, their relationship in that sense. The other thing could be that circumstances in which people meet could, by definition, also mean that they're in a long-distance relationship from the onset. People, if they meet online, for example, by definition, it's already from the start, it's a long-distance relationship. People who meet on vacations, 2 people just, strike it up when they go on vacation. They meet from 2 different places, but right from the onset, the relationship is long distance.
Okay. All right, so now we have established long distance relationship. We have established some reasons why we have long distance relationship. Now, what are some of the emotional strain that long distance relationship have on marriages, Serena?
One of the strains that long distance relationship might have is the emotional strain. You know, when spouses are separated, there tend to be sometimes tension in the family.
Okay.
And that can lead to emotional stress as well.
Okay.
If I could add to that, Sabrina, loneliness.
Yes.
Okay, there's that feeling of loneliness at times, no matter how much you try to connect virtually. Okay?
Yes.
There is that, and if it's a couple that has children, as Terena mentioned, that stress can be, it can be overwhelming for a single parent to actually manage the children, depending as well on the age group. For example, teenagers could be a handful,
Okay.
where, it could be really overwhelming for a single parent. So, I mean, to add to what Terena said, you have loneliness, you have that stress of actually managing the children, especially teenagers, in such a case. Then there's also, going back to what Terena mentioned, when you start to talk about that emotional stress, sometimes, the mind tends to wander and trust issues start to come in.
Yes.
Okay, trust issues. And that should not be underestimated with regards to the emotional aspect that Terena just mentioned here.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. I wanted to say there's also unwanted or unmerited paranoia. Because now in a long distance relationship, the partner is thinking the other partner who's away may find somebody better than them. So already the tension of thinking, am I good enough? Will they find somebody else is going to crop up? Because the expectations were not discussed for the relationship. Trust issues like, Pete had mentioned will come up. But just knowing paranoia can crop up. Who are they seeing, this weekend? They are not picking up the calls. Where are they? So paranoia becomes a problem in the relationship. And then the other one also, intimacy, because you're not seeing each other, you start to slow down mentally because I don't find the need to become creative. I don't know how to put that word. You will stop putting in the effort you put when you're in a face-to-face relationship. Maybe I'm going to dress well, I'm going to care for my health. I mean, your partner is 300 miles away. You won't really care about that. So even as a person, the creativity you had in the start of your relationship starts to go down. You're not motivated to do better for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to go into that rabbit hole. It's a big world of things that can inevitably. It's a lot, but I will just
narrow it down and
let's. I mean, while Pete was speaking, I triggered this idea of insecurity. Some people have never lived alone. It's the first time. The first time they stepped out of their parents' house, the next family they went into is their own family with their new spouse. And then suddenly, even without children, they're being separated. Remember in COVID, lots of people suffered from panic attacks, depression, because they were physically forced to live away from their spouse. Security in the sense of, how am I going to deal? I'm alone in this big world. In this, what if someone comes and attacks me? What if the sense of insecurity becomes real in long distance relationships? And that can be an emotional stress factor.
And my next question is, and this goes to anybody, are there any quick fixes to this this emotional strain or these emotional strains that we have just discussed? Are there any quick fixes? Are there any solutions that we can use for this these emotional strains? So there were some that were mentioned. You have mentioned paranoia. You mentioned about being very. We tend to be very, what would say that we are insecure. So is there anything that we could use to kind of bridge that, find a solution to that?
Okay, should I go first or you want to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, sure. First of all, couples have to have very realistic expectations for your relationship. Have goals about your relationship. How long is this distance going to take? If it's going to take longer, what are we going to do to bridge it? To your question first, are there quick fixes? I don't think they're quick fixes, because for the different reasons why the spouses or are apart, that could be different. So the one I would want only basically to my other colleagues can discuss. The first one is think outside the box. Stop narrowing your relationship to just, okay, video calls, phone calls, because we're in a .com era where you can have your phone with you. Think outside the box. Write a letter. Send it. You know, maybe they've got a flower shop, a gift shop. Can I have this place order for my spouse? Have date nights. Say today it's just me and you. Please wear a fancy suit. You know, cook the food. When you're cooking, can we get creative? Set the camera up so your spouse is seeing you're involving them every single day in that. The second one is look at things as a learning opportunity. Since we've been apart, how can we do better next time? Okay, you did not communicate because of time zone. Can we be creative? Maybe I will be tired, but the weekend, can I sleep earlier? So think outside the box, but also take this as a learning opportunity. Next time my husband is away, my wife is away, I want to do something that will make them, you know, very happy. And also knowing I'm thinking about them.
That's a very good answer to the question. Go ahead, Sister Tony.
Yes, there are no quick fixes to this, okay? But as Judith said earlier, we have to make sure that the expectations are set as a couple. But sometimes you set an expectation at the beginning of your journey and then it changes. You set goals at the beginning and it changes. You set time goals, okay? And then you said, okay, 3 months, 6 months. And then you realize you're 1 year in. So sometimes even though you started out setting goals and expectation, it changes. So as couples, you know, persons have to adapt to the changes as well. But we also have to be intentional. You have to be intentional when you are in a long-distance relationship. And, you know, Judy gave some very good examples of how to be creative.
Yes.
You know, like even, I like the one with the meals, preparing meals and having date nights. I know a friend of mine, she would have on the weekends, you know, the children would be in different rooms. And when we'll call the spouse, they would have on the screen 4 different rooms, like spaces. So it's not everyone in that same room. So you're looking at each other, you know, you're being creative in talking and giving each other space and time to speak. So you're thinking of ways to make your family time, even though it's online, to make it meaningful. So that's a solution. You know, whenever you meet, it has to be intentional, it has to be meaningful, so that you said, yes, I can't wait until the next call.
Okay, thank you. And my next question, part of it has been answered, but I will still ask it. With technology at our beck and call, do you think that communication with spouses who live in other countries apart from each other would have challenges communicating? Why or why not? What challenges could there be, although we have communication at our fingertip? What challenges could there be in communication with our spouses?
Well, you're talking of the internet, right? That's a blessing, but it's not the whole story, because communication is an art. It is not I mean, if you just give me a tool, that's not enough to communicate. We need to convey emotions. We need to convey intentions. We need to convey feedback. All these things are integral. You have the internet, but it's not a living thing. It does not breathe life into a relationship. And that is where we have to be very intentional and deliberate, and even take lessons perhaps of how to improve our communications. The way I communicate to him or her in close proximity is very different from how I would communicate the same talking to someone who I cannot see. You know, so for example, video is more impactful when communicating in a long distance relationship, because it can help bring trust back. If you're talking to me on phone and there's a lot of background noises, you know, my mind will drift away from the communication, and I'll start asking about what is happening in the background. Could there be another person? You know, you become suspect.
That's it.
Might I add something to what Dr.
Definitely.
Solomon said?
Go ahead, Julie.
Dr. John Gray did write a very wonderful book talking about the 5 love languages.
Yes.
In as much as we have the internet, couples need to know each other's love languages, which are 5. We have physical touch. If you know your spouse's love language is physical touch. Can you make the flights, quite often? If you can, vacations, physical time together. If it is words of affirmation, can you affirm them every morning? When they may be waking up in the morning, send a message. I want to see what you have on. You look amazing. The same words used, when you're wooing them in the relationship. 3, we have, acts of service. If it's acts of service, how can I help? The kids are at school. How can I, let me check on the kids this weekend. We can use the internet. The next one is, I said acts of service. Quality time. Yes. Then there's quality time. If your spouse's love language is quality time, can I make sure I spend a lot of time on this phone of mine? The video calls, the chats, the messages, everything. Then the last one is, I don't remember. Anybody remind me?
Okay, so we have gone through, but we thank you. So those, we definitely need to know the love language of our spouses, and when we do know that, then the challenges will be less, and that's good. But we know that sometimes misunderstanding can rise. When I recognize with long distance relationship that misunderstanding can rise more easily, which can lead to potential crisis. Right? How can we lessen that? Lessen the crisis, because while communicating, because the person is not with you physically, then you tend to probably hang the phone up, stop the call, and just go away. How can we stop that from leading to a potential crisis?
So I think maybe before I go into that, Sabrina, so I thank my colleagues here for how intelligibly they've been able to articulate the subject matter here. So one of the key things in a long distance relationship is the heightened need for communication, effective communication. All right. Now, what does that mean? It actually means, it goes back, I think it's Judith who talked, or was it Terena who talked about setting expectation, right? Having that quality time where you can express your thoughts, it's not rushed, it's planned and you stick to it, that is an expectation, so you manage it. Yes, it might not be consistent, as in if something untoward happened, but you sort of need to keep up on that. Now, one of the things to avoid a crisis is trust, to build trust. But how do you build trust? You build trust by being consistent in your actions and understand. So those expectations you've set, those things you've said we're going to do them repeatedly, consistently. That sort of builds trust. You know what? With trust, when trust has been built, and it's easier said than done, right? But when trust has been built, even if there's a misunderstanding, that trust is solid and it actually can help you. Because, sometimes when there's a misunderstanding, my thoughts start to run, right? Why is my wife or why is my partner behaving like this? Could it be that she's met someone else? My thoughts begin to wander. But if that trust has been built, and it has to be built by that consistency. So for me, my 2 cents to this is trust.
Yes, I'm happy for that. So for us not to have that potential crisis, then trust has to be the foundation. So that would have minimized anything falling or anything creating such a problem. Okay, we will continue this conversation. When we get back, we'll be looking at physical intimacy and how we can maintain it in a long distance relationship. Please stay tuned. Join us. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Hello everyone. It's nice meeting you again. Today's special message is long distance relationship. Long distance relationship in a family can be challenging, but they also offer unique opportunities for connection and growth. Embrace the distance as a chance to strengthen your bond through communication and shared experiences, no matter the miles apart. Remember that each moment apart deepens our appreciation for one another, reminding us that connection transcends distance. Love knows no boundaries, my dear. It can flourish even from afar. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thanks for staying with us. We're back from break and we're continuing the discussion about long distance relationship and the challenges that are faced and how we can bridge those challenges. So one of those challenges that are faced with couples who have long distance relationship is physical intimacy. Tarina, physical intimacy is hard to maintain in an LDR, which can affect emotional closeness and bonding. What solutions or advice can you offer to couples who are facing this crisis?
I would suggest that couples be creative in this area of their lives, be creative. Take advantage of the internet. Take advantage of, making videos. You can make live videos or you can record videos and send to your spouse. Okay. But I would advise that you inform your spouse if you're going to send a video or a picture, just to let them know, hey, I'm going to send you something nice, just for your eyes only. So be creative, especially when there's a time difference.
Yes.
Say, for instance, the wife is getting ready for work in the morning while the husband is at home, getting ready for bed.
Okay.
Then she can set up the camera and video herself, let him watch her get ready for work. Okay. Take a shower, get dressed, and all of that.
Thank you.
So that is a way that you can deal with intimacy.
I like what Terena said, but I guess if, let's say, it's a woman doing that, the guy will be drooling, I guess, Terena, right?
But he will be going to bed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can I add something?
Definitely. You go right ahead.
I'm just going to piggyback on what Terena has said, going back to the 5 love languages. So the last one I didn't mention was gifts. However, let's go back to physical intimacy. If you know your spouse's love language is physical intimacy, research has it for men, physical intimacy is their primary love language. So you realize my husband likes when I dress a certain way. So every morning maybe you're going shopping. Can I try this on? Do you like this necktie for the man? Do you like this? I'm now going out maybe with my friends. Do you enjoy this? And then discuss your expectations, sexually. What do you expect from me? Then, make the trips very soon. We're going to go here. I'm maybe going to plan, this hotel visit. I'm going to do the petals when you come. So try to put things that work for the both of you. If, let's say, it's going to be a vacation, it's just going to be me and you, not the kids. Maybe grandma can have the children. Then when you travel, figure out what works for you. If that's not going to be the point, get creative in the house. I am flying this weekend. I'm going to surprise you. So get in the habit of discussing your sexual expectations. Again, it is communication. That's what I can add.
Okay, thank you. Solomon, I
Yeah.
see you're on the edge, you're on the verge, you really want to
I'm on the pedal.
Go ahead
I'm on
and
the
tell
pedal.
us, Solomon.
I want to add something
Yeah, please
too.
weigh in.
So the thing is expectations, like
Yes.
children, how they look forward to things like birthday parties. These things, they are long awaited, but when they do come, they mean a lot. Okay. So likewise, we should say on this date, expect me, birthdays, for example. No, you may not be able to do that, but if you set some expectations so that they're preoccupied with that, they're working towards that. And the more you really work towards a certain goal, the more emotionally attached to it, writing letters, things that you discuss once upon a time. When you do arrive, you say, you wrote this letter, what did you mean by this and this? And by the way, intimacy, words are part of intimacy. If you are poetic enough to package your language in a way that leaves an impact on your spouse, that can be very impactful, because anyway, intimacy is emotional, right? Yes. So if you write love letters, or if you train yourself, now we have you don't even need to invest a lot of money. ChatGPT can help you with that. You can take, but love letters are very important, even if they're short. Dear Mrs. Solomon, I was just around the pantry in my office and suddenly thought about you. I almost bumped into someone, but I am sorry. On this day when I come, I'll tell you the full story. Something like that. Okay. That is just extemporaneous, but they will take it seriously because it will seem more natural, I would argue.
Can I just add something
Yes,
small?
please
Sorry to
go ahead.
interrupt, but I feel many couples always tippy-toe the issue of intimacy in long-distance relationship.
Yes, and I'm happy that we have the opportunity
Yes.
to discuss it at length. Go ahead.
So usually now they become very creative with these cards that couples can play at night. So it's a deck of cards. You can say, hey, we're going to go on Amazon. I'm going to purchase these cards. Purchase the same cards. It's part of intimacy. You're creating the tension. So on this specific maybe date night, you're saying, hey, I'm going to read out these cards. What do you think when I first came? What did you think about me in the relationship? Does this work for us? Maybe what attracted you, intimately or sexually in the beginning is now different because your body is different, your health is different, the way you're understanding things, and also you've grown in the relationship. The cards would actually work for you. I'd maybe want to add that. So have a date night, use these cards, but do not tippy-toe the issue of intimacy in a long distance relationship, because where your spouse is, there's somebody who they are physically, looking at. So yes, that's what I wanted to address.
You know what, Sabrina, I'm really enjoying myself. I mean, this is a great bunch of people here, and I'm learning a lot. I think just maybe to add just one small thing is all these things. I think the examples given, great examples.
Yes.
The only other small thing I would add is, while we're trying to be creative with all these things, whenever possible, try to plan some time where you can reunite.
Yes.
This is really important. I mean, we need to be real, right? Sometimes it's not possible for economic reasons or any other things, but because relationships are so important, right? We need to really prioritize that. Even if, I'm here for economic reasons, buying a ticket for $2,000 would be a drain, but it is worth it. So it's about, planning that and looking towards that.
Okay.
Can I just I sneak in something else called music?
Okay.
Musical voices. For example, women voices are very angelic, So if they send, like when my wife sends me her audio recording, I feel good about that, and I can play it again and again. Men's voice, I don't know how they sound
It depends on who is listening, eh?
Yes.
Yes.
But what I'm saying, the tone of the voice can go a long way in romantically triggering some strong bonding from time to time. You can change the tone of the voice. You don't have to be very flat all the time.
You know what, Sabrina, I didn't know Solomon was romantic, but it's coming through. It's coming through.
And I have something else to add too. So if you have planned a date night and you say, this night we're going to be together, we're going to have a video call, I think that we could also, what could happen is that the persons could have during the day you send messages. So you're looking forward to tonight. You said, I can't wait, and then you send small messages. So the expectation is built up, so that when that time arises, the momentum is really at its peak, and you're ready to, I don't want to say explode, but you know what I mean. You're ready. You're already there. You're ready to just talk and have a good time.
Hallelujah.
All right. This is getting really interesting, right? So I want to get to another question though. How can couples, this is a two-pronged question. How can couples adapt and grow despite the long-distance relationship? What are some ways we can be intentional with our long-distance relationship? That's one. The other part of the question is, when couples reunite, what are some of the challenges?
Well, couples are human beings before they're couples. So that means each one of them has different needs in life. We have different goals even within a family. Just like children, they have different goals. Father has different goals, mother has different goals. We have to sort of support each other in realizing these goals. They could be academic goals, they could be professional aspirations, and so on and so forth. If the spouse feels included into the plan, they're more likely to comply and support the long distance relationship. If, however, it comes through that your priorities are more inclined towards selfishness, for example, or for example, you're more focused on the kids than your spouse, and they sense that yes, you're investing more into the kids than them, so for them they're not gonna grow, then they're more likely to rebel, but they will not give you as much support, or vice versa. If they think that you're not being very supportive with the kids' education or with the advice or whatever, because we're at different levels. So what I'm trying to say is you get more involved in practical planning of everybody, especially if you're the breadwinner and all the financial support comes from you. That's one thing. And then secondly, support like with the children as well. You can say, today I'm going to call the teachers, I'll speak to them. Once they see that you're involved in other activities, they'll be like, okay, I have some support.
I like that in being intentional. Is there anyone else that would want to add their voice to it?
I wanted to add something, just a little bit, just to backtrack. In as much as we are saying be very creative, have a cup. We're in an internet age where things can flip back on you with the information you've passed to your spouse. We've seen it right now. People having, court cases where their beautiful photos are being exposed. So couples have to put that in mind as well. Now back to your question. I'll give an example which is quite well known. When Nelson Mandela went to prison, he came back after 27 years and the relationship ended. So couples have to go back to the drawing board. Why are we married? What was the intention of getting married? What was the intention of the long distance? If it was education, now it has ended. Can the other couple join us? If they can't join, what is the plan? Discuss. But also doing things together. Let's say it is projects you're building together. It gives the other spouse a sense of belonging. I'm doing this together. We are building maybe a house together. We are taking a loan out together. We're now sending the kids to school together. So every plan you're making involve your other spouse. Otherwise, you will do the candles, but the money is not coming in. We are not progressing. When you left 3 years ago to go and study, let's say for your master's, your wife still is struggling. She's, handling everything single-handedly. So go back to the drawing board. What was the goal of you traveling? What was the goal of the distance? If you can bridge it, fine. Then from there, can the other party join? So go back to the drawing board, I think, is the best way I can answer that.
And thank you. I like that because, then this would tell me that the growth is there, but you grew apart. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. Yes, Peter?
I wanted to address the second part of your question to say, when couples have been apart or partners have been apart, they now reunite, what are some of the challenges?
Yes.
So one of the big words, I learned this word when I was doing research for this program, autonomy. Autonomy. Once you are in a long distance relationship, right? You turn to be self-reliant because your partner is not there to do things they would normally do. So, for example, in some traditions, there are certain duties in a home that are typically masculine in nature. The male in the household is expected to do them. In some cultures, this is not a big deal. But in some, so in a long-distance relationship, that sort of disappears because that...
You have to do by yourself.
Absolutely. And this sort of fosters that self-reliance, you now have your space, you now have autonomy, you can make decisions. So for example, if children are involved, you're now managing that. Yes, to some extent, you're planning with your partner, but the children are seeing is that parent who's there. So you develop autonomy. This, dear friends, can be a problem when people now get back together, because someone talked about, I don't know if it's Solomon, about being able to adaptability, because things are dynamic, things are changing now, right? Now when you come back together, you sort of start to relearn
who pulls the shots,
to understand each other, because this can be a deal breaker. Remember, statistics show that out of all the long distance relationships, about 60% succeed and 40% fail. So if you zoom into this 40%, one of the big issues is the issue of autonomy. Now, I don't want to monopolize the discussion, so I would like to hear what my friends have to say, but autonomy is one of the issues we sort of need to really understand and how to sort of handle that to avoid a crisis, as you put it.
Okay.
the autonomy is a real issue, especially if you're, and there's also a lot of acting. What I mean acting is, especially if there are children around, you know, they will behave as if you're the one who pulls the shots when you're around. But once you leave, they'll go back to the default where, like, it doesn't matter. He's never here or she's never here. And he's bossing us around. And over time, that will affect your position in the family, especially now when you've decided that it's time to reunite, because they know that maybe the mother or the father, as he said, he's the man and he's the woman at the same time. He goes to school, he does all the purchases. Now, what is going to be? I mean, what are you going to do when you finally come back? Basically, she or he has been doing everything. So you have to slowly reintegrate. Even if initially you're the mother or the father, but you're not at this time, you know, the children will see you differently, and adaptability is important. Slow adaptability, not quick to regain your position. I'm the man. I have to take it back. Hence now pulling the shots. Go to do this. No. It shouldn't be like that.
All right. Thank you so very much. And with that being said, we are going to be switching gears, and we're going to the children and the impact that long distance relationship have on children. Because, you know, children may struggle with the absence of a parent or parents, leading to a feeling of abandonment, sadness, or confusion. What can be done to lessen the impact on our children?
As a mother of two girls, I can say that clear communication, consistent communication, building that relationship, whether it's through calls, through videos, through letters, through cards, whatever it is. You know, keep that consistent, meaningful relationship with the children, okay? Absolutely. So that when that spouse reunite or the family reunites, you know, there is not that big of a gap that you spoke about earlier, Solomon, because they can say, okay, I'm always talking to my mother, I'm always talking to my father. You know, it's included in all these discussions. And that is something that couples need to work on, parents need to work on as well. Involve the other spouse, even though he or she are not in the home physically, but involve them in the planning, the school planning, the graduations, the report cards, the field trips, the discipline as well, you know. Involve them into it. Create a session or create an opportunity for the spouse that is abroad to sit and speak to that child one-on-one.
Yes,
absolutely.
You know, let them know that, you know, I'm your father. I may not be
I'm your parent too.
Yeah, I may not be in the room, but I'm your parent, and I don't agree with this. So create that opportunity for those discussions and the parenting to take place nonetheless, whether it's not physical, you know, create that opportunity.
All right, thank you. Peter, explain for me in details ways in which we can cushion the impact of emotional stress on children through long-distance relationships.
Really, really good question. I don't know if I have all the right answers, but I'll build on to what Terena mentioned.
Yes.
I guess, you know, it seems we're coming to the same point: communication. Communication is king. Is king. So that having, you know, lessening that impact is the partner or the parent who is away needs to be intimately involved in the affairs of the children. Now, with the advent of virtual reality, right, internet and so on and so forth, even at so for example, open days at school, you know, you can arrange, for example, a Zoom meeting where the parent who's absent is physically there. You know, one of my friends before coming on to this program was saying, you know, some children actually get really upset because of the emotional stress when this parent who's not been available comes in and starts, you know, to make comments, and they actually get really vexed, really upset. Exactly, and they say, where were you? You know, you have not been, and this actually can cause breakups in family relations. So really, what Terena hit the nail on the head, is be involved as much as possible using the gift of technology. So for example, open days, be present there through Zoom calls, communicate daily. You know, when we were talking about spouses, we said, you know, part of the expectation is set a time every day where you dial in, where you have this video call. The same should be true for the children, especially if you have got more than one. So there's that space where the whole family comes together, right? But there's also that space where it's one-on-one with the child, okay? Through the video calls, daily. I know this is a toll, but hey, listen, long distance relationship are hard work. You know, just one thing, Sabrina, before I hand over to my friends here. I'm reminded of an American football coach, Vince Lombard. You know, he was coaching his team, and at halftime, you know, they were losing. You know, his team was down.
Yeah.
Then he came in, all guns blazing, and he gave this inspirational speech. He says, hey, listen, gentlemen, okay, we will chase perfection, and we will chase it relentlessly, knowing all the while that we can never achieve it because nothing is perfect. But along the way, we will catch excellence. This is the same thing with long distance relationships. We need to aim for perfection in all aspects, especially with communication, because nothing is perfect.
Yes.
But along the way, we will catch that excellence, which will hopefully, inshallah, bring these relationships from that 40% of failed LDRs into that 60%.
And that's a good point.
Can I answer
to
something?
almost end on. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, yes.
You have a 30-second.
Okay, sure. I wanted to highlight two things that were maybe forgotten. Parents need to understand their children individually, because children are changing. You could have teenagers, but they're different children. Understand them individually. Then the last one is on gender roles. Is it possible for parents to highlight, this is the father, this is the role of the father, discipline, I'll be pushing this for the father, so the children may know who the authority figure is. I know this is very controversial, but I think it's very good for the mother in this aspect to highlight who the authority figure is. Otherwise, it becomes problematic when the other couples are joined together.
This is like a can you just open of worms that we do not have time to deal with at this moment.
Yeah.
But we'll leave this for another time. But what we have in closing, what we have been discussing are the strategies for coping our regular communication, quality time, involvement in each other's lives, counseling or support groups, setting goals, discuss the future plans and goals, including how and when to close the distance and to provide hope and a sense of purpose for each other. Thank you so very much for joining us on Family Matters. We truly enjoy your company today. And please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.